In this series of videos, I'm going to cover how to create your own custom title block. Now to get started, you're going to open up your template file, and what I'd like you to do is make the active design layer the sheet layer for the hardscape plan. And then the other thing that you're going to want to double check is that your page size is US ArcD. So to check that, we'll go to File, Page Setup, and then I can see over here that it's US ArcD. So I'll just go ahead and cancel out of that. Now I already have a title block border already placed in this file, but this is the one that I want to replace. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete this. Now I'm ready to add a title block border on here that I'm going to go ahead and edit. So I'm going to come back over here to the Dimensions and Notes tool set. Here's the title block border tool. And then because I have this first single point insertion mode, what that means is that when I click into the document, one click is going to place that title block. So you only need to click once for that. Now, the last title block that I used in this file was the simple title block 1, and that's why it's here selected under the title block border style. I want to start off with an unstyled title block. So I'm going to come over here to the tool preferences, and then up here I'm going to click convert to unstyled. I will just go ahead and click OK, and then I'm going to click once into my document. And so now I just have the border of the title block border in my file. Depending on the last title block style that you used, there may be things such as grids and borders that you want to add or remove. And so let me show you how to do that. With that particular title block border selected, we're going to come over here in the Object Info palette and click on Title Block Border Settings. Then over here under the Sheet Border pane, notice down here at the bottom under the Border section, we have the option to either select or deselect Hide Border. So currently, and you can see this in the preview, currently I'm showing a border. If I deselect that, then I've hidden the border. I think for our example, I'm going to go ahead and leave the border on for now. The other thing that you might want to turn on or off would be zones and grids. And so under the Sheet Zones and Grids pane, we have a section right here for Show Grids. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK and then just show you on a larger screen what that would look like. So you can see that when we have grids, we have a numeric row of numbers right there and then an alphabetic column of numbers on the other side. And I don't recommend that you keep those on. So let me show you once again how we would turn that off. We're going to come over here to the title block border settings. Then under the Sheet Zones / Grids, we're just going to go ahead and deselect Show Grids. So now that we have just a clean slate to work with, what I'd like to do is review the PCC drafting standards. So if we look at this section right here for elements to include, we can see that a border is optional, but regardless of whether or not you actually draw a border in your document, you should still leave a ½ of an inch from the edges of the paper. So just keep that in mind. The other things we would need to include inside of the title box would be things like the client name, the client's address, your name as the designer or your company's name, your contact info. If you're a contractor, include your license number as well, and then a project date, a revision date, sheet numbers, and a written scale. Your title block also needs to include things like the sheet title, the north arrow, and a graphic scale that goes along with your written scale. Now that I have a blank title block, I'm actually ready to start working on my own layout. And so to do that, just select the title block border and then come over to the Object Info palette and click on Edit Title Block Layout. So once you're inside of this edit mode, you can go ahead and start working with tools like the rectangle tool, the line tool, and the text tool. And so first I'm going to go ahead and just start drawing some boxes. And it's a good thing to kind of keep in mind how much space you want your title block border to take up in your file. Make sure that it's not too big, as well as be mindful that it's not too small. So what I would recommend is for your height, keep your height somewhere in between 2 inches or 3 inches. So I'm going to start out around 2.5 inches, but I have a little bit of room to play around with that if I'd like to see something different. So I'm just going to come up with a series of boxes and text. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording for now, and then come back once I have my design ready. So here I have my title block set up with all of the required fields. Please feel free to be creative with your title block and come up with your own design and layout and make it unique to you and your business. And keep in mind the use of tools like text styles to keep your text consistent, as well as playing with some of the different alignment commands to keep everything lined up nicely. The one thing that I do want to bring your attention to is how I put together the written graphic scale bar, because that's going to matter in the next step when we link some of these fields to our title block border. The next thing I'm going to do is add the north point to this title block. So I'm going to come over here to the OIP and I'm going to select Display North Point. Now once that north point appears in my title block, and it's important that I have the selection tool active, I'm just going to click on that blue point in the center and then move my cursor and zoom in so that I can see where I want to click to place that north point, and then the second click is going to place that north point in the file for me. And I think in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just reposition this over to the side rather than being inside of the title block. And so you can see you can move it around as many times as you'd like just by clicking on that blue handle in the center of that north point.